Minutes to, oh crap, I'm out of soda. I drink a lot of soda tonight because I just got out of, I went into committee meetings at 6:30 and it's now 10:15. Nearly 3.5 hours of committee meetings. One of them being the style committee, and I want to commit ritual suicide at this point. But I like to have a show out every day. So I wanted to do a short show. Say that 3 times fast. And this isn't going to be terribly long because there isn't much news yet. But I just wanted to give you all a heads up. So we've got a lame duck LNC at this point. We've got a lame duck, thoroughly discredited and thoroughly distrusted LNC. We have convention coming up in May. That's what they should be concentrating on, and not on trying to shove porcupine down our throats, which sounded very painful. Those quills will get you on the way down. We'll talk about the porcupine issue in another show. But there is a motion on, well, it's not a motion yet. It's discussion before motion on the list right now to expand the LNC censorship patrol to make an even broader code of conduct. The person who proposed it has all of the best intentions. The people who will support it will not. It was Ken Molman who proposed it. I think the world of Ken. I do not think Ken has any kind of malicious motives whatsoever. I just think he's being incredibly naive and tone deaf. Nothing further has happened so far. Right now, there's just Ken's proposal. Now, Ken has always been an advocate of making the policy manual shorter. Why would you want to make it longer in the area of speech patrol? The last thing, particularly this LNC should do, is dabble ever further into its censorious nature. Why Ken would think this is a good idea with this LNC is completely beyond me. And to call it a code of ethics is also pretty rich. If we're going to have a code of ethics, number one on that list of ethics should be the national chair shouldn't try to engineer a coup of a state party and then run away and delete all the emails. And perhaps an LNC shouldn't try to remove its secretary for whistleblowing. Now, don't you think it's interesting that there's more interest in creating a speech code than whistleblower protection? I find that very interesting. Where's the whistleblower code? I find it very interesting that they have yet to censure Joe Bishop Henchman. But no, let's waste our time on expanding the LNC speech code. Now, there are some good parts in this proposal, but they don't have to do with speech. There's one good part in this proposal that says no LNC officer or at large, because in the policy manual, they can't say qualifications for a regional. Though I believe this should apply to regionals, this would have to be done via the bylaws and not the policy manual. But they say no staff member, LNC officer, or LNC at large can have an either elected or paid position within an affiliate state party. I agree with that. But that has nothing to do with speech. That's the only part of this new welcome to the brave new LNC world policy manual amendment that's being proposed. On your way out, you're going to impose even greater speech codes and call it ethics. This LNC, the word ethics shouldn't come out of its mouth ever. But if you are going to have a code of ethics that doesn't include whistleblower protection, what are you smoking? Because it ain't good. Get a refund from your drug dealer. For instance, I think it's point number 1. You shall treat every person with respect and dignity. That sounds good until you start getting into particulars. Say you happen to run across, or somebody was absolutely proven to be the type of person who does things they shouldn't do with little kids. I have to word it that way because YouTube doesn't like the P word. And it's proven. And we're talking little kids. You want to know what? Our manual would say you have to treat such a person with respect and dignity. Well, I'll tell you what. If someone R words a baby, I am not treating them with respect and dignity. Yes, I'm using an extreme example to prove my point, but this just goes to show why these speech codes are ridiculous. And you want to know who else I don't treat with respect and dignity? National chairs that try to engineer a secret coup of an affiliate party. I don't treat that with respect and dignity either. This is absolutely and utterly ridiculous. Now, if this new speech code at least tried to limit it to official interaction. So when you are officially wearing your officer hat or your at-large hat, or you're on party property, that being the email list or in a room they rented for a meeting, fine. But they're going beyond that and telling you what you can say in your personal life in every single situation. You want to know who else I don't treat with respect and dignity? The cop that shot Daniel Shaver. This is so draconian. It's not even funny. And let's turn it around to even appeal to the more woke crowd. Are you saying a gay person has to treat someone who openly despises gay people with respect and dignity? If that person is saying, like for instance, the way theonomists say that being gay should be subject to capital punishment, no, I don't treat that position with respect and dignity. Of course, I guess some people will say, well, there's a difference between the person and the position. Well, the LNC seem to have a big problem distinguishing between that with me. That speech code should say criticism is not disrespect or undignified. All this is setting up for more political witch hunts and weaponization. We don't need it. And of all LNCs, this one, how tone deaf can you get when 47 people were just expelled from Massachusetts for protesting? Basically, at least one of the reasons they did not like their current board is because that board just imposed a speech code. They signed a petition, which is a form of speech. They got thrown out of the Massachusetts party for exercising speech that they're allowed to exercise under their own constitution. And you got this LNC wanting to memorialize that. There's another reason this is really bad. It also says you're to uphold the letter and the spirit of the non-aggression principle. What the actual F does that even mean? Does that mean microaggressions now? Is that what that means? Because you know that's how that will be interpreted. We don't need to uphold the spirit of the NAP. We need to uphold the letter of the NAP. The NAP isn't a spirit. The NAP isn't that difficult to understand. Words are not aggression. But you want to know what else this is doing? This is not the intent of the maker of the motion. However, imposing a speech code right before convention is the LNC exercising once again control over who it wants to be elected at the next convention. Because all someone needs to say is, well, this person doesn't agree with the speech code, so therefore they should be ineligible. The LNC has had its dirty little fingers, and this isn't, again, the maker of this particular motion, or it's not even a motion yet, but proposals, Ken. None of this applies to Ken. I think Ken is just being naive. But the type of LNC members that will support this aren't being naive. Now, no one has yet. Perhaps they're smarter than I think they are. But this is libertarian dystopia in the making. And if this abomination passes, I hope the first thing the new LNC does is repeal it. Well, we don't have to wait for the new LNC. I hope the delegates repeal it and put in the bylaws, the LNC shall not create a speech code. What the hell is wrong with these people? Is that really what the members want us? We have the COVID regime going on, and they're concerned about speech codes. Well, that's all I can say for this evening. Again, I just came out of 3.5 hours of committee meetings. If this gets traction, you can bet I will spend as much energy as I possibly can to, I'm trying to think of the right word, to drag this idea, to light this idea on fire. It's awful, tone deaf, awful, misplaced priorities. And this LNC should know, you done fucked up. Can you just spend these next 3.5 months just doing no harm? Even if you do nothing. Doing nothing actually would be a relief for once. Just do nothing. Because every single thing you try, you screw up and you get appealed. If this thing passes, I hope somebody appeals it to the JC. Keep this JC busy. A speech code and calling it ethics? So you're telling me if I treat somebody that essayed a baby without respect and dignity, I'm unethical? We live in clown world. Because that is the implication of that policy. In the spirit of the non-aggression principle. What kind of new age foo-foo is that? My God, sweet baby Jesus. That's all I can say. And Her Majesty is not pleased. Uh-oh. I probably didn't treat that image with respect and dignity. You want to know what else this policy does? Speaking of that, because that was what was called a joke. Guess who couldn't serve on the LNC if this policy went into place? A comedian. Because they make a living out of laughing at people, which is not treating them with respect and dignity. Now, there's no malice behind it, but intent plays no role in this code of ethics, which is how criticism can be aggression. So you're a comedian, you're disqualified from serving on the LNC. Are you someone who makes a living being a political commentator, which means that you are going to be very harshly critical of some people like warmongers? No job on the LNC for you. How dare you? Unintended consequences are a real bitch. Some members of the LNC are finding that out right now because my parliamentarian self is now able to help a lot of people who are getting screwed over by their affiliates. Guess if I were still secretary, guess what? I wouldn't have been able to do that. And the LNC hasn't liked that I've been helping these affiliates because it's made them actually have to do work, and they're screwing it up, and they're getting appealed left and right. Mr. Lucchini right now, who will be the subject of another show, is certainly not happy about it. Well, Mr. Lucchini, this is your reward. I don't mean that literally, because I'm not doing it out of revenge. I will help anybody if I have the time. I actually had to turn down a request for help the other day because I ethically couldn't do it because I didn't have enough time. But I just find it so funny. I guess in some ways, this is a silver lining. But for the LNC illegitimately removing me, I would not have been able to help Delaware. But for the LNC illegitimately removing me, I would not have been able to continue to help New Hampshire. But for the LNC illegitimately removing me, I would not have been able to help Massachusetts. But for the LNC illegitimately removing me, I would not have been able to help now Arizona and New Hampshire. I mean, not New Hampshire, excuse me, New Mexico. Some members in New Mexico. Unintended consequences are a real bitch. Fidalgo File says, when are the LNC regional reps chosen? Does it happen every 2 years at the time of the party convention, or is it asynchronous? It's every 2 years, but it's not always at the time of the party convention. Right now, there's 8 regions. There are 10 possible regions. If the way regions are, if you have 10% of the national sustaining members all grouped together, you band together states in order to get 10%, you can form a region. So if you got exactly 10%, 10 equal chunks of the pie, there is theoretically a possibility of 10 regions. Of course, that never happens. There's always 8 or 9. And each region has some latitude as to when they elect their regional reps. Most of them will do it at a regional caucus at the national convention. But California, who has 10% of the national members all on their own, so California as a state is its own region, they elect their regional rep at their state convention. So it's been different over the years. But right now, the other 7 regions, if they stay the same, there might be 9 regions next time. Who knows? So the LNC can actually be bigger than 17. If you have 10 regions or 9 regions or whatever it might be. It could also be smaller if you break it down into 6 regions. So yeah, mostly every 2 years at the time of the party convention. But an LNC rep, even if they are chosen at the state convention, they don't take office until the end of the national convention. So California's convention is coming up, I think, a month before the national convention. So they'll elect their new LNC reps at that convention, but the old ones will stay in office until the end of the national convention. I hope that made sense. That was a really long-winded answer, I think. All right, everyone. I be tired. So I am going to go now. It was just a long night of committees. So I hope this now perks your little ears up and you watch the LNC list and say, no speech codes, comrades. We are not the Tyrannitarian Party. Cheers.